They are watching us for the past month, the whole month of Ramadan, and their participation in this program in terms of asking questions and feedback. And may Allah Azza wa Jal give us the opportunity, inshallah, next year to also provide this blessed service of answering the questions of the brothers and sisters in the next month, Ramadan, inshallah.
Inshallah. We do apologize if you sent in a question and we haven't answered your question yet. Believe you me, we are going through all of the emails, all of the WhatsApp messages, and one by one, inshallah, we will answer your question. It is our duty. We'll go out and find the answers, and we will answer your questions in the forthcoming episodes, inshallah. Sheikh, now let us begin with archaeology. Now, you and I both know that the world is full of artifacts, historical antiques, and things that have been shown throughout history of past civilizations. Whether it's like the Egyptians, we have the coffins, and we have all of these type of jewelry and so forth. Even I believe in Turkey, there's an Islamic museum where they have items that belong to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, also items that belong to Imam Ali and so forth. These artifacts, these historical antiques and so forth, when they are discovered, who does it belong to? Because technically it doesn't belong to anybody. Now, do the archaeologists, the people who found it, does it go to them? Does it go to the government of the area? Does it go to the landowner, the person who owns the land? How does it work when it comes to Islam? How do we tackle this issue?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi al-Tahirin. Wa la'natullahi ala a'dahim ajma'in. Basically, those who find such antiques by their own efforts and search, of course, they will actually own them. It is theirs. Nobody has the right to usurp those found for themselves just because of being the government of that particular region or land, or for any other reasons. You cannot take whatever they found by their own efforts. So it is theirs, and no government has the right to come and seize them from those individuals, unless if they want to sell it to them, or if they want to arrange in somehow, let's say if they wants to donate them to the National Museum, that should be fine, no issue with it. But you cannot usurp from them whatever they found, because we have a basis called sabaq, or the precedence. Whoever proceeds to find these his. Of course, the Khums comes, the other issue comes, and which should be considered as well by referring back to the jurists in this regard.
Inshallah. Shaykh, now, according to His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani, what is better, to perform the Jummah prayer on the Friday or to perform the Dhuhr prayer on the Friday?
The Sayyid mentions that the Friday prayer, with all the necessary conditions and requirements, if they are all met, then of course it is more preferred and virtuous. So if one that can pray it, then that's should be great. But in anyhow, our ulama say that it is a wajib takhyiri. You have the choice of praying the Friday prayer with all the conditions, attending the two sermons and so forth, or to pray just Salat al-Dhuhr by yourself or by the Jama'ah. So it's a wajib takhyiri. Of course, some of the ulama would not encourage, they haven't prayed in their lifetime, and they won't encourage their followers to pray it just because of this being part of the Ma'soom's alayhi salam's duty when he is available and present. Otherwise, as I've said, the fatwa today is wajib takhiri. You have the choice to pray it or not to pray it.
I see. Sheikh, now when performing salah, is it obligatory for the musalli to have his clothes tahir? So the person who's praying, are the clothes meant to be pure? Or do they have to be pure?
The one who performs the salah, be it a male or female, they must make sure that their body, their clothes are all tahir and pure from all types of najasa and impurities. And if found to have some kind of najasa on their clothes or body, then of course the salah would be void and batil. The one must repeat his salah again because he prayed with an impure clothes or body. And that's why we have the condition of purifying yourself when you are relieving yourself in the bathroom. So you have to make sure you wash that area of najis before going towards the salah and praying, to be purified from the impurities, najasat. That's a condition for the salah, that you have to make sure that everything is tahir before you start the salah.
Shaykhna, if one does not know or forgets his garment is usurped and performs the salah, is the salah valid or invalid?
No, of course the salah would be valid in this scenario because the one is basically ignorant of the issue that what is worn now in the salah has been usurped, but you never knew about it. You just wore and you just prayed with it. So the salah would be valid because we have a narration with regards to I think 9 things rufi'a that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would forgo these. I mean, would allow for the one, to be easy with these ahkam if the one, let's say, he forgets, for example, or he doesn't know, ma la ya'lamun, and so forth. The one who forgets, for example. So they're allowed to basically continue with what they've been doing without repeating the amal. But of course, each mas'ala should be looked into and observed, rather than we just take it as a general rule.
Shaykhna, the next question is from one of our viewers from the WhatsApp or email. If the hands of a watch are made of gold, is it permissible for a man to perform salah with it? So the hands are the actual on the face of the clock, the ones that move and indicate the hour and the minutes. If they are made from gold, can one perform his salah wearing that watch?
Well, this runs into the precaution. The one should avoid wearing such watches in general, of course for men, not for women. Because we have, ala kulli hal, in overall, we have a hadith with this regard, that men are not allowed to wear gold.
Yes.
In a hadith from Imam Abi Abdullah As-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says in this narration, لا يلبس الرجل الذهب. A man is not allowed to wear gold. A male basically. ولا يصلي فيه, and he's not allowed to pray with this gold. I cannot wear a gold ring and pray with it. لأنه من لباس أهل الجنة, because the gold is part of the adornments of paradise, of the people of paradise, those who will reside in paradise. They would wear gold, their garments would be golden. So that's, for men, is what they would be given as a reward in paradise. Yes, in dunya we have ahkam, we have sharia, we have haram, we have wajib, we have halal, and so forth. But in paradise things would be permissible. There's no haram or wajib to be implemented there. There's no amal there in paradise. It's all reward. That's why we are allowed to wear gold in paradise. As men, for example. Things will change in paradise. It's not like the dunya. We have the word khamr.
Yes.
Alcohol is haram in dunya,
Yes.
in this dunya. But in paradise there's some kind of a drink in which we are allowed to drink in paradise. So things will be changed, of course. In paradise, things will be more perfected compared to dunya. The gold in this dunya completely is different in paradise. The gold in paradise is different, and so forth. The castles, the mansions, the rivers is all different than what is in dunya. I mean, the dunya is just replica, it's just an example of what we're going to see in paradise, inshallah.
Inshallah. Shaykhna, according to His Eminence the Grand Ayatollah, Sheikh Wahid Khorasani, if a dead baby is taken out of a live animal, is that the meat of that baby, is it halal to consume?
His Eminence mentions that it is not allowed to consume such meat. It's haram. It's a dead animal. You can't eat meita, dead corpse. You have to slaughter this animal with the Sharia slaughtering process towards the Qibla, saying Bismillah. A Muslim individual should be the one who slaughters the animal, and so forth. So no, you cannot consume a dead animal.
Sheikh, a question from one of our viewers, I do believe, should be coming up on the screen. Is it permissible for women to visit the graveyard, with the opinion of His Eminence, the Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani?
The Sayyid mentions there's no objection to their visit to the graveyard, but the one should observe the hijab, you know. They shouldn't be wearing makeup, for example, adornments, showing their beauty. For example, in this place, the graveyard is a place in which we come there, we gather there in order to remember that hereafter, the adab, the thawab of the hereafter, the Jannah, the Nar. So it's not a place in which some may come and take it as a place of entertainment or you know, having free time there. So they have to make sure that they come with modesty, with full hijab, avoiding any kind of attractions towards the opposite gender.
Sheikh, is it permissible for one to take a job with preconditions which requires the employee to have to shave their beard?
Well, it's not permissible for the one to shave their beard. Islamically, you're not allowed to do so unless the one is compelled. And compelled means the one, if he doesn't shave his beard in this place of work, employment, then he has no other access to other jobs and so forth. And he's the type of low income, for example, difficult to get a job. And I was asked this question by an army individual in Iraq, in which he had no job except being in the army. True. And if he loses his job, he's got no money to pay for the costs of his, let's say, property, clothing, food and drink, and so forth. So in the compelled situations, yes, the one can, but to with the minimum extent required. So if he can shave, let's say, with the machine, let's say 0.5, that's he can do so. He is not allowed to shave, clean shave, for example, with blade and so forth. So due to the minimum
I know
part.
with the military, it's more to do with health and safety. They had in World War II, especially, they had issues with people wearing masks. The beard would get in the way or get caught and so forth. That's when they introduced it.
But we've seen this, let's say, the army in the Hashd al-Ja'bi, for example, they never shave, for example, or the army in Iran, for example, they never shave.
The Indian army with the Sikh soldiers,
many of them wouldn't shave, and they still operate, mashallah, they do their service without any issue. So I don't think that's an excuse to shave.
Fair enough. Sheikh, in some parts, if some parts of the house were usurped, for example, maybe the front door or the window or bricks or so forth, the salah I pray in that house, is it still valid?
Well, if the land is not usurped, then the salah is valid. The land that you pray on, that's important. That whatever you pray on is not usurped. Then in this case, the salah is valid.
Inshallah. Sheikh, a question from one of our viewers, and that is, if while performing a salah one doubts whether or not he has performed wudu, should or would his salah be valid?
You see, if one is not sure when he is praying, he just had this doubt that, did I do wudu or I didn't do wudu? Then because he has such a doubt, his salah would be void, and he needs to do the wudu again and pray again. You have to be certain when you start your salah and you pray, you must be certain that I'm praying with purity. I'm praying with complete wudu. Any doubt will make you to repeat your wudu and salah as well.
Sheikh, if the salah valid is performed in the house of a person who does not pay khums on wealth and earnings, if this is an aid of guiding him?
Basically, praying in the houses of those who don't pay khums, and you're certain about it that they don't pay khums, what you need is just to ask the Ahkam SOS, your marji', for permission, or his rep, and that should be fine. It's just a permission for being able to be there and pray and so forth.
Inshallah. Shaykhna, the phrase Ashhadu anna Aliyan waliyullah, is it an integral part of both the adhan and the iqamah?
In overall, there's a debate between the ulama that is it part of the adhan? In other words, if I don't recite it, the adhan is batil. There's one opinion. Some say no, it's mustahab, but it's not part of the adhan. It's mustahab, you can mention it, but it's not part of the adhan. According to narrations, yes, indeed, it is part of the adhan. And this narration of Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam, in a long hadith, he says, فإذا قال أحدكم لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. So if one of you recites لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله, then also say فليقل علي أمير المؤمنين ولي الله. To also add this third shahada, this shahada of the wilayah. Yes, by the two shahada you're a Muslim, you're tahir, you're halal to get married, you're dhabiha, your slaughtering is all halal. But you have to reach the stage of iman, mu'min. The iman is for those who follow Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam and witness that he is the waliullah azza wa jal. So it's important that we submit to this shahada as well and not to neglect it. That gives us a stronger aqidah and iman, because these are three main axes. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah and with the wilayat of Ali alayhi salam. Important that we stick to these three together and not to miss any one of them.
Ahsan. Shaykhna, a question from one of our viewers, and that is it permissible to recite the adhan and the iqama while sitting down?
Yes, it is permissible, though it is mustahab for the one to recite the aqama and the adhan while standing. It's better.
Okay. So another question from one of our viewers. If one doubts whether or not he has performed takbiratul ihram, what is he supposed to do?
If one began the reciting of alhamd, let's say, and he doubts about did I recite the takbir or not, then of course you continue with the salah.
Okay.
There's no need to go back and to do the takbir. But if you are still haven't started the bismillah and alhamd and so forth, then you have to redo the takbir again.
Okay.
And then begin your salah.
So what if one performs the takbiratul ihram, but when it comes to the surah Alhamd, Surah Fatiha, we're at the beginning, and then we always recite a small surah after. If they doubt whether they recited one or the other, if they doubt that they recited both of them, that they're not sure even if they recited both, they've gone into ruku, what does one do there? Can they go back and repeat, or how does it work?
Because you have moved to a next stage, and that is the rukun and that is the ruku', then nothing needs to be done. The salah is valid, and you can just continue with your salah to the end.
Shaykh, the final question for this evening, and it came from the WhatsApp, and that is, Assalamu alaikum, I've been trying to find articles and videos with authentic references on miscarriage and stillborn. What does Islam say about children who depart the world in their mother's womb? I mean, it's a big issue in our community. I mean, one thing is that when someone has a miscarriage, it's very tragic, very, very difficult for the family to deal with. But then you always get this negative energy and gossip from other family members that, oh, maybe, she did this or she did that, or God is punishing them, or there's so many negativity and there's so many rumors that come about. Islamically speaking, what does Islam say in regards to those children who aren't born and die in the womb of a mother?
You see, in overall, the believers are exposed to the tribulations and trials and tests. This is the dunya in which you have to face the test and imtihan. We are here to offer test and move towards the hereafter. So one of the difficult tests is that to face such a difficult moment of miscarrying the child. Anyhow, about the traditions of the tribe or the saying of some individuals with this regard, we have to go back to the Holy Quran and to the narrations of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his pure family and progeny to see what they said. The Quran is clear. If something happened to you, musibah, then say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Khalas. We belong to Allah, we return to Allah Azza wa Jal. So have patience, have sabr, have the taqwa, God-fearing, you know, and ask Allah Azza wa Jal dua. Maybe you have a next child,
Inshallah.
and so forth. In overall, I have two narrations with this regard. The first one is from Tafsir al-Qummi.
Okay.
He brings the tafsir of this verse with citing a hadith. The verse which says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَاتَّبَعَتْهُمْ ذُرِّيَّتُهُمْ بِإِيمَانٍ أَلْحَقْنَا بِهِمْ ذُرِّيَّتُهُمْ. Surah 52, verse 21. Those who believed and their offspring followed them in faith, we will unite them with their offspring. Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he states that إن أطفال شيعتنا من المؤمنين تربيهم فاطمة عليه السلام, that the children of our Shia, our followers among the believers will be fostered, will be taken care by Fatima alayhi salam in the hereafter, in the hereafter. Then the hadith says وقوله ألحقنا بهم ذريتهم قال يهدون إلى آبائهم يوم القيامة. They will be gifted to their fathers on the day of judgment. So those who have children and they die in the early stages of life, they will be given as a gift to their parents on the day of judgment. And Fatima alayhi salam will be nurturing them, educating them in the hereafter. Another hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, in the long hadith, he says that أما علمتم أني أباهي بكم الأمم يوم القيامة حتى بالسقط. He says, didn't you know that on the day of judgment I would be contested with you over other nations, that I have the nation of Muslims and Islam and so forth, even with the miscarried one. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa would come even with this miscarried one. That this miscarried is part of my nation, my ummah.
Yes.
Then the hadith says, حتى بالسقط يظل محبنطئا على باب الجنة فيقول الله عز وجل ادخل الجنة فيقول لا أدخل حتى يدخل أبواي. Then he would remain at the doorstep of paradise. This miscarried child, even the fetus, would remain on the doorstep of paradise. And Allah Azza wa Jalla would say to him, into paradise. You're a child. You died innocently, so go to paradise. That's a gift from Allah Azza wa Jalla for the children of Shia, that they would go straight away to paradise. But this child would remain on the doorstep of paradise, and he would say that, no, stubbornly, I won't go inside the paradise unless my parents enter before me. So he wants his parents with him to go to paradise. فيقول لا أدخل حتى يدخل أبواي قبلي. فيقول الله تبارك وتعالى, Allah would say لملك من الملائكة, he would say and order one of his angels that ائتني بأبويه, bring his parents, bring them. فيأمر بهما إلى الجنة, and Allah will order them to go to paradise with the child. Subhanallah. فيقول هذا بفضل رحمتي لك. And Allah says that this is due to the grace of my mercy towards you. That Allah Azza wa Jal, yes, this child was taken from their parents in dunya, but as a reward, Allah would enter them paradise with this miscarried child, with the parents. So in other words, this child, this miscarried child, will be a shafi' on the day of judgment. Those non-Shia sects who reject and accuse us of, saying that shafa'a, only belongs to Allah Azza wa Jalla, nobody can do shafa'a. In this hadith, that even the child of the one can be a shafi' at the doorstep of Jannah and bring his parents to paradise. So shafa'a is there at all time.
Inshallah. Shaykhna, thank you very much for all your efforts and your research. And thank you to all of you for joining us on this episode of Ahkam SOS. Inshallah, myself and the Shaykh, we will be back on Monday at 6:30 here on Imam Hussein TV3. If you have any questions you'd like to send in, please send them in via the email address, the WhatsApp, And inshallah, we'll be able to discuss and answer all of your questions. See you inshallah 6:30 here on Imam Hussein TV 3. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.